very much honored and grateful to be amongst all of you this evening. Special thanks to our distinguished hosts for so kindly inviting us. Today, I was in Kolhapur, and flying back as I was entering Bombay's and Mumbai's domestic airport at around 3:30 this afternoon, I was wondering what I should speak tonight. And I saw a big sign with a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. It read, "We must become the change we want to see." I was thinking that's a very important message. And I was waiting for my baggage, and there was a sign, an advertisement from the Canara Bank. It said, "We all change for the ones we love." And I was thinking, the biggest news in America is the Democratic Party's campaigning. And the person that is leading this Barack Obama, the very platform of his political campaign is change. That he will bring about a positive, effective change in the politics of America, which will change America. So this idea of change is something very relevant in people's minds today. Mahatma Gandhi's words are very significant. We must become the change we want to see. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "Yadyaracharati sreshthas tathad evetadojana sayat pramanam kurute lokasthatanavart." That what influential people do, the common people will follow. He doesn't say what influential people say. The Gita says what influential people do, the common people will follow. Whatever example they set by their exemplary acts, the world will pursue that. To bring about real progress is not about superficial changes. There may be changes in policies, which are helpful. There may be changes in laws, which are very helpful. There may be changes in various methods, which could also be helpful. But real progress is when human beings have changes in values, fundamental values of life. In the Vedic literatures, we read about dharma. Some people think dharma means one's occupation. That is a very superficial understanding of dharma. But according to the Vedic conception, real dharma is our essential nature. That which cannot be changed. What is inherent in our nature. For instance, the dharma of sugar is that it is sweet. The dharma of a chili pepper is that it is hot. The dharma of a rock is it's hard. The dharma of water is it's liquid. The dharma of a snake is it bites. You can give all kinds of philosophical discourses to affect snake, but still, it's dharma. There are two types of dharma, pashu dharma and manava dharma. Pashu dharma is the nature of the animal species. Whether one is a fish or an insect or any type of animal, bird, their nature is to eat, to sleep, to mate, and to defend. A human's dharma is something beyond that. To improve the quality of what we eat, a dog may just be eating a bone, and we may have a special cook from the Taj Mahal restaurant cooking an elaborate feast for us. But in principle, it's eating. A bird may sleep in a nest, and we may sleep in a nice, beautiful mansion, but essentially, there's no progress in the fundamental value of sleeping and mating. And animals may fight with their claws or with their teeth, and we may have very highly scientifically developed nuclear bombs, but that does not make us consciously higher than the animals. The Vedanta Sutra begins, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Human dharma actually starts when we seriously inquire into who we are and what is our relationship with Bhagavan or with God. Sanatana Dharma, which is Manava Dharma, the human dharma, according to Veda, and actually according to all the great religious scriptures of the world, is to understand who am I and what is my real duty. Krishna tells in Gita to Arjuna at the very beginning, Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yogaram jara tatha deham tarapraptir dhirastatva namikata. That this body is always changing. From boyhood to youth to old age. And then Gita tells at the time of death, it's just another change into another body according to our particular karmic situation. But who is it that is witnessing all these changes? Who am I? Najayate mriyate vakadachi nayam vipabhavata vanabhuya. We are the consciousness. We are the Atma that is unborn, undying, unchanging. But somehow or other, we are accepting all of these temporary designations on the basis of the mind. So Sanatana Dharma, in very simple words of Lord Chaitanya, is Jivara Swarupa Krishnara Nityadas. That we are all eternally the servants of God. And Krishna tells in Gita, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Every living being is part of me. The nature of the part is to serve the whole. Some people feel that Gita in essence teaches that work is worship. And that is true. But if that's all it meant, Bhagavad Gita could have been one sloka. It's 700 slokas to teach us how to work so that it's actually worship. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna tells, Yajyaratat kamanon yatra lokamam karma bandhana taratam karma kvantaya mukta sangha samaja. Work has to be done as an offering to the Lord. Otherwise, whatever work we do will be a cause of bondage to the cycle of karma. The example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam that when you water the root of the tree, automatically every part of the tree is satisfied. If you put food in the stomach, then every part of the body is satisfied. In the same way, when we learn to live by our own nature, our sanatana dharma, of developing a proper relationship with our own soul and with the soul's relation with God, then real fulfillment, real happiness that is based on truth. In order for real morality to take place in human existence, there must be a strong foundation of values. Today, in our educational system, we have brought such amazing educational technologies from the Western world. Is India actually becoming a better place? I was brought up in the United States. I came to India in 1970 when I was 19, and I considered this is my real home, so I've been mostly here since that time. But in the country I'm from, yes, there's very good roads, much better than India. The road between Bombay's Pune is very nice. But practically every road in the whole country of America is like that. And nice cars. And people drive in a much more orderly fashion. And the ghettos in America that I used to see were nicer homes than middle class in India, obviously. Very economically developed country. When I was young, every home, 2-3 televisions, 2-3 telephones, 2-3 cars. And that was just middle class. But 67% of marriages are divorced within 3 years. Suicide rate amongst teenagers is appalling. The respect between the parents and the children. When I came to India and I saw, in 1970, I saw children so respectful to their parents, it was a culture shock for me. Will it make families happier? Will it make individuals happier? It doesn't. In fact, just the opposite. Our Guru Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he explained his idea. He said that, first of all, he quoted from New York University in their religion department. They were recommending called her students, this was in the early 70s, perhaps still today, to read a particular book on religion by a PhD scholar from communist China. And this particular book, he emphasizes, if anyone wants to understand what real religion is, they must go and stay in India. It's a communist Chinese professor. India's Bharat Bhumi. When I hitchhiked with no money, like this, through Europe, through the Middle East, it took me 6 months. I wasn't coming to India to see Bollywood movies. I had Hollywood at home. I wasn't coming to India to marvel at the ambassador car. Myself and so many others, we came to India because we were searching the massive wealth of spiritual culture, heritage, philosophy, and knowledge here. And to meet the saintly people, the enlightened beings that are here. The Vedic literatures are in an encyclopedia of spiritual science. Einstein, Emerson, some of the greatest thinkers, Da Vinci, they were students of the Bhagavad Gita. One of the greatest authors of America, he said, I believe it was Thoreau, that the Bhagavad Gita is like an empire of spiritual knowledge. In comparison, all the literatures of the West are puny and trivial. What a great, powerful, spiritual heritage India has. Ram, Krishna, Narasimha, Buddha, so many of the greatest avatars descended in India. Therefore it is Bharat Bhumi. Srila Prabhupada, he told that he was just one Indian man, 70 years old, who wanted to export the real wealth of India, Sanatan Dharma. And millions of people's lives changed. Have you ever heard of a hippie? Prabhupada said he made hippies into happies. People who were addicted to alcohol and drugs. People who were addicted to illicit sex without marriage. People who were addicted to eating meat, to gambling. Who never heard of anything else. Just by seeing his example and hearing the teachings of Gita, people who had no faith or understanding in God whatsoever, in fact, they gave it up because of all the hypocrisy they were seeing in their own religions. They revolted against that hypocrisy. They gave up illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, and dedicating their hearts and lives and souls to living a holy life in this world. Prabhupada was speaking to people here in Bombay. I was one person from India who just had faith in our own heritage. And look at what the result is. So Srila Prabhupada explained that Western science, wealth, and so on and so forth, is very powerful and very helpful. If we combine that with the spiritual vision of India. He compared it to a blind man and a lame man. A lame man cannot walk, but a blind man has good, strong legs but cannot see. He said, if the lame man who has vision gets on the back of the blind man who has good legs, then together they could do great things. So similarly, with Western technologies and with Eastern vision, spiritual heritage, tremendous things can be done in this world. But the greatest tragedy in this whole planet is if the people of India sell out the most sacred, divine, deep heritage of their own culture for the external, superficial things of the West. That is a massive loss. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bharata Bhumite Hoila Manusya Janmita, Dhamma Sarataka Kara Kara Parabhupaka. That it is the prime duty of every person who is born in India to understand deeply and realize what is here, and to share that with the world. That is, he considered Parabhupakar the greatest welfare activity. Because the big problems in this world are not poverty. The big problem in the world is poverty of the heart, not of the economy. Because factually, the reason there's poverty in the streets is because there's poverty in the hearts. A lack of the wealth of spiritual vision, which brings about love and compassion. This Enron scandal and so many other similar situations, due to greed, lack of compassion for one own person's power and wealth, they're willing to put hundreds of thousands in a miserable situation of life. One who is enlightened in God consciousness is not a person who just says, my God is better than yours. That's what's going on in the world today. So-called religious people. They're creating division. They're creating arrogance. I'm better than yours. My sect is better than your sect. You're going to hell. I'm going to heaven. That's not what Gita teaches. That's not what any real scripture teaches in its essence. An enlightened person is paradukadukhi. That means that person sees another person's suffering to be my own suffering. A person who sees a part of God in every living being. If you love God, you must love every living being. If there's anyone you hate, that, according to Gita, is the testimony of how far you are from God. Aham bija pratapita. Every living being is God's child, Krishna's child. So how can we hate? We can hate the diseased, but we love the person who may be diseased. So the nature of an enlightened being is Setu dharma. We want to serve. And we will find throughout history the great people that are actually loved are people who made sacrifices in their own lives to uplift others. If you become a millionaire or a billionaire, people may honor you, but they will not love you. They'll usually envy you. But, and what is the real satisfaction? Our Guru Maharaj used to say, whether you have 1 billion rupees or whether you have 50 rupees, how many chapatis can you eat? Real satisfaction is of the heart. Real satisfaction is in loving and being loved. It's not in possessing. That may give some satisfaction to the mind. It may give satisfaction to the senses. It cannot touch the heart or the soul. Only love. Relationships of love can give any satisfaction to the heart or the soul. And love is a thing of sacrifice, service. Everyone must serve. Either we're serving our country, or we're serving our family, or we're serving our employees, or we're serving our own mind and senses. Everyone must serve. But when our service is to others, is connected to the truth of our own relationship with God and their relationship with God, then that service is perfect. Lord Chaitanya, he explained that the highest aspiration we should pray for and strive for is Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayam Dasa Dasa Das Amidas. To be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Then people will actually love us truly. And we will love them. And in our relationships with each other, we will love God. That is quality life. That is a life where foundationally there is the highest possible values. And how much our children require understanding and imbibing these values. Otherwise, we just teach them so many things. But the big problems of the world are not caused by the uneducated, they're caused by the educated. They're the ones who are creating the pollution. They're the ones that are creating so much of the conflict between nations, conflict between people, conflict between the communities. Because knowledge is strength, it's power. When power is in the right hands, it can do the greatest good. When power is in the wrong hands, it can do the greatest damage. Look at Hitler. He had power. What did he do with it? Created a world war. Killed millions of innocent women, children, and helpless people. as an extreme case. Here in India, Gandhiji, he had power. He had the power of, people respected him, he honored him. I was just thinking, when I read that sign, that here is the British Empire. They were the most powerful nation on the planet, practically. Yes? They had massive armies with all kinds of bombs and planes and tanks and weapons and British soldiers. And here was Gandhiji. All he had is a stick. It's the wooden stick. And he defeated the British Empire. Of course, Subhash Chandra Bose was also involved in so many others that defeated the British Empire. Because he had power. The power of the willingness to make sacrifice for others. In the Western world, Lord Jesus, who's more powerful than him today, 2,000 years later? Why? Because he made such sacrifices for others. And so many of the saints of India, that's their greatness. Srimad Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, what sacrifices they made for other beings. The power that they had was the power of their love. And the love that people had for them. And they made real changes. Real changes. So how important it is for our children to understand, not just sentimentally or superstitiously, but scientifically and philosophically, what is the heritage of India's real culture. If we don't give them that, it will be lost very soon. It is said what the Mughal Empire could not do in about 700 or 800 years, what the British Empire could not do in about 200 years, American TV is doing it in just in a matter of about 20 years. And what is that? Divert the Indian mind away from their own culture and heritage. It's happening rapidly. In Chowpatty at our temple, our devotees, some of them go to colleges and present Bhagavad Gita from a scientific, philosophical point of view. And it's amazing. Young people who have given up their own culture as being nothing more than superstitious, sentimental, counterproductive to real progress in life, stifling real economic growth. And their parents, what's happening to our children? But just by hearing it spoken in a context that according to their Western education they can respect, which means logically, total transformation. Total transformation. Our Guru Maharaj used to say, when he came to America, he said, you people are this far from Krishna, but somehow or other you're coming this way. He said, but the youth of India are this far from Krishna, but they are running this way. But if we can just give them the proper appreciation, this far, it's doing such great things for the world. But Krishna tells what's important and how to achieve this. Yad yadachirati svestas tatad evetarajana. What leaders do, common people will follow. A parent can smoke and tell her children, smoking's not good for you. But as soon as the parent leaves the house, it's just a matter of time the children are in front of the mirror pretending to be like their parents. And a little later they light it. Example is so important. Therefore, the sign in the airport. You must become the change you want to see. Change of heart. Lord Chaitanya told Cheto Darapana Marajanam Baba Mahadavagni Nivatana that there are godly qualities within everyone, but they are simply covered, like a mirror. When a mirror is covered by dust, all you see is the dust. You cannot see yourself. But if you clean the mirror, little by little, you see who you really are. So real spiritual life, and specifically the chanting of the holy names of God, is compared to the process of cleaning the mirror of the mind, so that we can actually see who we really are, a part of God. We can actually access the divine attributes within us. It is said in Gita that everybody in this world has a divine nature and a demoniac nature. Our divine nature is charitable, wants to love God, wants to serve. And our demoniac nature is prone toward anger, arrogance, greed, lust, envy. There is an example, there are like two dogs. It's like a good dog and a bad dog. They're both barking. And which of those dogs is going to win the fight? The dog you feed the most. If you feed the good dog and starve the bad dog, the good dog's going to win. But in today's world, people are really feeding big feasts to the bad dog. And just a few scraps to the good dog. So what's happening to our society? And what does it mean to feed? Where we give our time and the decisions we make. What is integrity? Integrity is when we have high ideals. And even when there's temptation, and when even there's great risk, we will not compromise our ideals. That is integrity. That integrity is wealth. That is powerful. That will attract people's love and respect. Not superficially, but of the heart. And we see throughout the Puranas, the Vedas, the Gita, the Ramayana, it's all about integrity. Just a few days ago was Ram Navami, and tomorrow is Hanuman Jayanti. Ramayana is all about integrity. What an amazing story it is. Can you believe? Here is Ramchandra. And he's willing to sacrifice the throne of the king of the world and live in the forest in exile for 14 years to protect the honor of his father. Who's willing to do that? He didn't have to. And then his brother, Bharat. You all know the story. Bharat's mother, she forced her husband, Dasarath, to exile Ram for 14 years and make her son Bharat the king. Bharat was away. When he returned and he found out about it, he said, "There's no way. I'm going to Chitrakoot. And there I will convince Ram, no matter what, that he should come back and be the king of the world, and I will remain in the forest in exile." And there, on the bank of the Mandakini Ganga, at the Kamadiri, in the forest of Chitrakoot, there was a fight between brothers. We hear a lot about fights between brothers all over the world. Yes? But what was their fight? Bharat is fighting with Ram. I've already brought all the consecrated water to coronate you as the king. You go back, you will be the proprietor of the planet. Not just a nation, but the planet. And I will remain wearing tree bark and matted hair in the forest. The Brahmins want it. All the citizens of Ayodhya want it. Everyone wants it. And I want it. And Ram said, "No, Bharat. I will remain in the forest in tree bark and matted hair, and you go and you be the king of the world with all the wealth and all the power and all the prestige. Because under no circumstance will I compromise the honor of my father." That is the Lord's example. Such integrity. And we will be tested. But that type of integrity is the greatest need in the world. Because when people live with that type of foundation in their lives, with those types of values, then real positive changes on every level will come about. It's not a matter of being a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or a Jain or a Parsi or a Buddhist. Savayapam Sankaro Dharmo Yato Bhaktirabhokshite Ahoitaki Yaprati Hataya Yatma Suprasidati. The Bhagavad Purana says the supreme occupation, the supreme religion, is unconditional, unmotivated love for God. And to serve humanity, to serve all living beings on that basis. It is our nature. If we have a strong spiritual foundation in our life, then we will be able to pass all tests. And even if we happen to fail, we will pick ourselves up and improve ourselves. And this is a very, very great need for all of us. When we chant the holy names of the Lord, we clean our hearts and awaken our natural, innate godly qualities. Here in this great land of India, where there is such a great philosophy, science, culture, and heritage, but is so rapidly being forgotten. we all have a chance to do something substantial and wonderful for our people and for the world. I thank you very much.